Hello, my name is Jeff Lush. Today we're going to be talking about some strategy. This is really free consulting if you're looking at doing a digital transformation within your organization. Look, I don't have all the answers, and I'm certainly not an expert at any of this. Although I do have 40 years of experience doing large transformations, some of the largest in the world, and a few of these tips may help you as you consult with other companies who are looking to do transformational efforts. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to break this down into just three of my top three concerns that are kind of rattling around on the top of my mind right now. The first, whenever starting a transformational project, is that you have to realize that transformation of an IT environment is about half, maybe even less than half, technology. A majority of it is process, people, and culture. Those other things outside of information technology will have more of an impact on the success of your transformation project than probably the technology itself. So let's talk about why that is. Well, from my perspective, we don't like change. None of us do. I certainly don't. Nobody likes change. And when we start changing an individual's work environment, it brings up other things for them, for the user, the recipient of that change. Imagine if you're working in a job, you've been doing the same thing for years, and all of a sudden now they say, I'm going to give you this new whiz-bang application, and it's going to do everything but slice bread. In the back of your mind, you may be thinking, well, does this mean that I'm going to have a job in a few years? Are they going to automate everything? Or, I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. I only have a few more years left. Let's just leave well enough alone. These are real feelings, and they should not be disregarded or not put into consideration. In fact, they should play an important role of any migration that you're going to do for an environment. Consider the people. Understand what their concerns are. Now, we can't answer all those concerns, but get an understanding of what they are and encourage your teams as you go through the transformation that they be sensitive to the user's needs that are being transformed. Number two, and they kind of build on each other. The second one is, in order for us to have clear communication between the people that are transforming, right, the change agents, those are the technologists, and those receiving the change, or the users in this context, you have to communicate very clearly, not just once, over and over and over again. That communication should come by means of functional and user requirements, operational requirements in the environment. How does this change impact the way they do business? And is the change making their lives better or harder? Are you implementing technologies that are designed to really speed up their process, and now they won't have to spend as much time doing XYZ? All of those things need to be discussed with the users and the stakeholders of those organizations, and clearly, absolutely clearly defined as requirements. Before you do your digital transformation, you should have a list of requirements. These are the functional requirements that I want to satisfy when this investment has concluded. These functional requirements are going to serve you well, by the way. They're not only going to create a defendable position for you, which we're going to talk about, and messaging we're going to talk about in a minute, but they're going to provide for you the contracting evaluation criteria as you begin to solicit bids to do the work. Qualify those that are doing the work against the requirements that you have. Additionally, they're going to put for you the destination. They're going to clearly define where you want to go and where the users have agreed to go. Now, I will tell you that those functional requirements, it may take 2 years to implement the change. They will most likely change over the course of time. But with them clearly documented, with your understanding and the concurrence of those that you're going to be implementing this change with, all of you agreeing that these are the functional requirements that I'm going to use moving forward, then as you get through the migration process, you can lean back on those functional requirements and say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, we're building to this requirement. That's what we contracted for. That's what we've paid and made the investment for. Let's get through that investment first, and then let's change and make modifications. The reality is that you don't know what you don't know. And until users really start using the system or getting really involved in the migration process, now, once they do that, creativity starts to perk up to the top and they realize, oh man, I wish I would have done this. And that brings me on to my third point, change management. You have to have an established change management process because the reality is things change all of the time. So you need to be able to document what those changes are. And when users come to you and say, a change, that new technology isn't quite doing it for me, you can say, oh, I appreciate that. We built to these functional requirements, step 2, but we appreciate that things change. What is it that you would like to change? Let me verify if they're actually in the functional requirements, because sometimes users just don't know that the feature set is there. I mean, think about it. The reality is that most of us use Microsoft Word or Google Docs, and we understand about 5% of the capability those programs offer. So there's that chance. And then if you can't meet the needs of the customer with the existing technology, then you kind of move to the next step, which is, hey, let's put in a change request and we'll put it on the list as soon as we get done with this migration. Now, there is a danger in stopping the migration effort to adding change on the fly. Strongly suggest you do not do that. You need to have a clear and solid execution plan where it is that you want to go. Get there first and then make changes to your course. So change management, absolutely. I think it's number 3 that we're on. Number 3 on your list. Number 4, create a defendable position. Now, what does that mean? A defendable position means that when conflict arises, and remember, being a change agent is all about conflict and change, but when it arises and it bothers the stakeholders, or probably it'll start at the lower levels of the organization where the change is being implemented, those individuals that are very uncomfortable with the change, what are they going to do? They're going to bubble it up to their leadership. Now, when it gets to the stakeholder level, now their leadership is going to say, well, why aren't you doing this? Because Johnny told me it should do A, B, and C. And they don't, usually the stakeholder is going to understand very little about the actual complaint that Johnny has. But they're going to know that they're upset, and their leader's going to do all that they can to help Johnny feel better. Now, what are you, as a change agent, what can you do to help Johnny? And that stakeholder who's now in somewhat of an interesting position, because the stakeholder may know that you as the change agent have all of these things that are being done and that you're tracking and following exactly what you said you were going to deliver, but that still doesn't give Johnny any comfort. So you have to create a defendable position so that you don't place the stakeholder in a position where they have to choose between you as a change agent and Johnny. Because almost every single time, I guarantee you, Johnny wins that discussion. So what is it that we need to do as change agents to make sure that you have a defendable position with a stakeholder that will understand less than 5% of what you're talking about? Now, This is no dog on a stakeholder and no criticism whatsoever. It's just, as a leader of an organization, the level of understanding is very shallow because they have to understand very wide, whereas subject matter experts, they're going to go very deep but not very wide. So we need to provide them with the data points that they need, and that is done through documentation. You as the change agent, have to be accountable, and then those that you're implementing the change with, they have to be accountable. Now, you can see other videos that I have, and I speak to this topic all of the time. Should be done through task management. You should be making assignments of tasks to others and following up consistently when those tasks are assigned, so that it clearly illustrates that you as a change agent are not kind of just throwing things over the fence, but you're offering to help. You're following up. You're reminding. You're escalating. All of those things should be documented clearly. Let me give you an example. I had a group, multiple groups within this organization, that we were migrating, a huge migration. And this one group, not very happy at all. They wanted to stay with their old systems that they're so comfortable using. So the first thing they said was, we didn't know anything about it. Now, because I'm a big believer in a defendable position, my team issued out tasks which the people at this organization confirmed and actually worked on, that showed a history of almost 12 months of working on this project together. Now, I want you to ask yourself, do you think the conversation I had with the stakeholder was contentious or difficult? It wasn't. All I had to do was copy all of the history, paste it into an email message, and clearly state, this is what we're building to. We've assigned these tasks to individuals within your environment, and there seems to be a breakdown within your environment of completing these tasks, although the change agents have consistently been following up on the actions. Is there something I can do to help? Or should we go to our shared boss and ask for additional resources? Once you send that email message, I almost guarantee you that 90% of that noise, that churn that's created, will go silent. Why? Because you have data on your side. You have the documentation, the defendable position on your side. It's hard to argue with it. The stakeholders don't need to understand, and if this were to be escalated to perhaps your shared boss, it's not where you have to be defensive of your position as a change agent. You just have to state the facts. The facts are, we've done this, and this. We've engaged your team here, and here. Where is the breakdown that maybe we can help you with as change agents, or we need to get additional resources? It does not become a contentious, defensive discussion. It can become a very positive, factual discussion. Now, I will tell you, again, having done this for multiple decades, that when you send that first email to that stakeholder, you will most likely hear nothing again from that stakeholder. Or, they may respond and thank you, but they will take care of it within their own organization. You have empowered them to make change within their own organization based on the data you have collected as a defendable position. I guarantee you, if there's anything you take away from this discussion today, take away the process. Be kind to the people that are changing. They're going through a lot. Nobody likes change. Understand their needs. Understand their functional requirements. Have a change management process and create a defendable position through accurate and accountable documentation. Now, there is a catch. The catch is you, as a change agent, you have to be accountable as well. So all members have to be accountable. Use the contract, use the functional requirements to fund the contract. Now you have a stake in the game, an investment. Use everything to justify against that investment. Are we sure we want to lose that money? But you, if it's a 2-year contract, for example, you as the change agent, you better be on your A game as well, making sure that all of those changes are going into place and being implemented within the environment. Because you don't want to end up with all of the data and not be doing your job to get it done. So just make sure that you've got all of that squared away. And then I promise you that the leaders of the organizations that are going to create churn for you, they're just looking for somebody to be defensive. Don't go there. Show them the facts and let the facts speak loudly. I promise you it will save you probably 30 or 40% of your time if you just do these simple steps, and your project will go along so much smoother without all of the anxiety and stress that can often be associated with these large change agent activities within any organization. Good luck with your project.